Umbris was old, older than the trees that twisted in the Ulvenwald. It had no flesh, no bone, no blood. It was shadow and hunger, a thing that moved in darkness and fed on sorrow. It did not feast on flesh or drink blood. That would have been too easy, too simple. It wanted something deeper. It fed on the weight in men's hearts, on their grief, their loss, their despair. It took the things they could not forget and made them vanish. And when the memories were gone, the sorrow remained with Umbris, locked away, savored. Long ago, a man named Tivas found Umbris. He was not a good man, nor was he a bad one. He was simply a man who wanted more than what the world had given him. He wanted his family to rise. He wanted his village to thrive. He wanted men to work hard and never falter. He wanted wealth and power, and he had learned that sorrow made men weak. He found Umbris in the woods, lurking in the fog, and he saw what it was. He saw its hunger. And so he made a deal. The village of Traublassen was poor. The winters were hard and the land gave little. The people worked, but there was always suffering, always loss. If Umbris took the sorrow, the grief, the doubt, the people would work harder. They would not waste time mourning. They would not lose themselves to despair. And so Tivas struck a bargain. Umbris would take the villagers' sadness, their pain, and in return Tivas would bring it what it needed. Sacrifices, men and women. Not often, not enough to raise suspicion, but enough to keep the deal, enough to keep Umbris pleased. And so the village thrived. The fields grew. The people worked without the weight of grief. They did not know loss the way other men did. They did not know sadness. And Tivas prospered. His family grew rich. His name carried weight. And in the shadows Umbris waited, feeding. It took the sorrow and locked it away in jars, and the devils it commanded scurried through the night, doing its bidding, keeping its hunger sated. The pact held for 100 years, but time is a thing no man can hold back. Tivas died, his son ruled, then his grandson, and finally his great-grandson Vitus. The deal had stood for a century, and in that time the truth had become legend. Then the legend became whispers, and then nothing at all, but Umbris had not forgotten, nor had it lost its hunger. Vitus was not like his ancestors. He did not know the weight of the pact, nor the cost. He did not see what his forefathers had done, only that there were strange things in the old buildings on the edge of the village, strange sounds, strange movements. He was a man of reason, and reason told him to send someone to look into it. He found a man named Torens, a fighter, a hunter. He told him to investigate, to find the source of the strange things in the dark. He did not know he was sending Torens to his death. Torens was a man who had known sorrow. He had lost his mother. He had lost his brother. He carried his grief like a scar, and he did not let it break him. He went to the edge of the village, to the old house where the noises came from. He brought his weapons. He brought his strength, and he brought a man named Alexander to help him. A boy, really. A boy who did not know fear, because he had not yet had the world take something from him. They went into the dark, and Umbris was waiting. It had been waiting for 100 years. It was hungry. It saw Torens, and it saw his sorrow. It saw Alexander, and it saw his youth. And so it took Alexander first, not his flesh, not his blood, but his body. It slid into him like a shadow at dusk, filling him, consuming him. It wore him like a cloak, and it spoke with his voice, but it was not him. Torens found the thing that had been Alexander, and it spoke to him. It knew his grief, it knew the weight he carried, and it made an offer. It would take his sorrow, it would take the pain of losing his mother, his brother. He would forget, he would feel nothing. He would leave, whole and free. And Torens, for a moment, considered it. Because grief is heavy, because loss is a thing that does not fade. But he was not a weak man. He had carried that sorrow for too long to let it go. So he raised his weapon, a sacred mace, old and strong, filled with the weight of prayers and time. And he brought it down, shattering the circle that had bound Umbris for 100 years. The thing in Alexander's skin recoiled, and for the first time in a century it was free. Torens did not kill it. He did not send it back to the dark. He made a new deal. The old deal was broken. The sacrifices were done. But there was one last thing to do. Umbris had to return what it had taken. The sorrow, the grief, the memories. It had to give them back to the people of Traublassen. And then it had to leave. Umbris listened. It did not speak, but it knew the weight of deals, of bargains, of things bound and unbound. It gave back what it had taken. The people would wake with their sorrow returned, their grief real again. Some would weep, some would break, but that was how men were meant to be. And then Umbris left Alexander, stepping away from the boy it had worn like a second skin. As it faded into the dark, Torens spoke, a warning, a promise. "Next time I will destroy you." Umbris did not answer. It did not need to. It was old, older than the trees in the Ulvenwald. It knew that time did not end things. Not really, and it knew they would meet again.